Welcome back. It is time to check in with Tom Mulcair, a feature brought to you by Guaranteed Industries. Reminding you that Guaranteed, Can Air, and Hydro all teaming up together. Great combination there. Rebates available right now as well, so ask about that too. Guaranteed Industries since 1957. You can give them a call at 514-342-3400 or go online, guaranteedindustries.com. Tom, a couple of different things I want to sort of get to if I can with you today, but I'd like to start. I just heard that clip. I'm not sure if you heard of Bernard Dranville. Going on about this international bank, the defense bank that Montreal would, of course, like to have here. Yesterday, the idea was Toronto decided to, do we say talk dirty and remind people or let people know who ultimately will be making this decision that, you know what, the threat of separation looms over Quebec and that wouldn't be good for business. Some people call that dirty, dirty politics. Is it, as far as you're concerned?
Well, Toronto didn't come right out and say it. I mean, that's the important thing to retain here because everybody's interpreting what Toronto said as meaning that. So I think that's the first point to be made. Toronto crab walked over to it a little bit sideways, talking about the importance of stability. And that's where people are saying, hold on, you're saying that because we have an upcoming election and there's a party that says it wants to have a referendum, that we shouldn't get this important investment. So that was the starting point. Of course, nothing more was required for the very fragile Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon, the head of the Parti québécois, to set himself on fire and say this is an outrage. And he even attacked Premier Christine Fréchette, saying, you're not outraged enough. This is one of my favorite recent moments in Quebec politics because it says so much about the state of play in this place. I think that Fréchette was playing it perfectly. And I think that Dranville is absolutely allowed. You know, he's a bit of a bumpkin. He walks into this stuff without much refined point of view, but he just throws everything he can at it and says, well, we're a natural. You know, we've got the defense side, we've got the economic side, we've got the diplomatic side. Yeah, but you've also got language legislation that's a pain in the butt, and there are people who are coming in to work in this bank going to be allowed to send their kids to English school, and those are legitimate questions. There have been in the past, by the way, for diplomats, exceptions to Bill 101 on access in English school, but that would the people working at this bank be given the equivalent status as diplomats for the purpose of Bill 101? Those are valid questions that we're allowed to ask. I don't think that Toronto has anything over Montreal with regard to this. Montreal is a wonderful, multicultural, multilingual city. And yeah, the fact that French is one of our working languages opens up to a whole bunch of the countries that are going to be part of this, you know, whether it's France or Belgium or many of the French-speaking countries, other countries around the world. So it is an advantage, and we should boast about it. But I don't think we should be getting our knickers in a twist about the whole thing. Let it play out. The important thing to me is going to be whether or not Mr. Carney, because it's essentially his decision, decides before, during, or after the election campaign. If he's got all the information he needs, I think he would be wise to make the decision right away. I mean, some would be cautioning, no, don't do it, wait till after. That way, it might hold something over the head of the separatists, and people might take a different decision with regard to the Parti québécois. I wouldn't play it that way. If he's got the information, come straight out and say, if it's Montreal, it's Montreal. If he decides Toronto, oops, then it will play into the election campaign.
By the way, to your point, I smiled when you said it, you know, the line about we're not outraged enough. There's levels of outrage, apparently. You can be outraged, but if you're not outraged enough, clearly you're not representing Quebec.
Right. You know, it's the typical thing that we've been going through for over 50 years.
Yeah.
The slightest indication that somebody might be thinking something negative about Quebec or its policies is enough to set everybody off. But let's just be real. You know, businesses are taking choices day after day. You know, we lost another 45,000 jobs in Quebec last month, but we lost something similar the month before. The only jobs that get created, or at least the majority of the jobs that get created in Quebec, are in the public sector. Government creating more jobs that are paid for by the fewer and fewer people who are actually earning money in the real economy to pay the taxes to hire the other, the bureaucrats. We're in a sad state. And one of the reasons that we're not creating jobs in the private sector is because of things like Bill 96. It has to be said. You can't stand there and attack great English institutions like McGill University head on, go after the hospitals, go after the health and social services. Oh, they'll argue, no, there's a clause in there that says that we want to fix. No, it does, because you can't hire people by making it a requirement to have a knowledge of English, and you're going to be dismembering and emptying out those institutions. But there's going to be a lot of toing and froing on this. I'm glad that this stuff is on the table, because thinking people are going to say, you know what? Legault went too far on a lot of this stuff, and he's really hurt us. He's hurt our economy. He was supposed to be all about the economy. I think that Frechette is made of different stuff. I'll wait and see what the facts are going to show me, and I'll base myself on that. But for now, her discourse has been decidedly more upbeat and positive about what we can accomplish together. She sees the place of the English-speaking community as an asset. I would like to see her have something a little bit more positive than just to say that we're an economic advantage. We'll wait to see whether she can miraculously come to that. But for the time being, again, I think that Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon represents, in my personal memory of these things that go back nearly 50 years, it's when the Parti Québécois was there, and I started working in Quebec City in the government in the late 70s, René Lévesque was in his first term. It was a very different place. The Parti Québécois was open, trying to sell Quebec, trying to explain to people who might be new arrivals that they were Quebecers, a very positive approach. We lost all of that under François Legault, and it's getting worse in the discourse of the Parti Québécois. It's very narrow-minded, very closed, and it's a bit spooky. So I think that Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon had been drinking his own bathwater. He was convinced by the polls that he was just going to win the next election in a romp, and it's going to be a real fight. The real thing to keep your eye on is which of the two parties, the CAQ or the Quebec Liberals, is going to be able to take on the Parti Québécois. Voters are going to make a strategic choice. 70% of Quebecers don't want a referendum. They're not going to keep dividing their vote. And so far, unfortunately for the Libs, Milliard has just shown himself to be very weak. I've spent the day exchanging with very senior Liberals who are finding it more and more difficult to find something positive to say about Charles Milliard. And he's either got to surround himself with deeply experienced people who are able to take him on and tell him things that he might not want to hear about how he's approaching the media and how he's doing. He had a very lousy week again. And it's nothing to do with my view of the Quebec Liberal MNAs. I mean, I know most of them individually, and I know how hard they work, and the party's got a strong history. I was a Liberal MNA for years, so it's nothing against them. But my job is to observe and comment. And my view of the current landscape is that the Liberals are in dire straits as we head into this campaign.
And to be honest, at least from my perspective, Tom, I don't know if you'd agree. I mean, these are self-inflicted wounds, right?
100%. The bit about the two official languages, and again, if you're having an intellectual discussion, a university discussion, you can point out that Section 133 of the BNA Act makes it obligatory to have everything bilingual in Quebec City, and you can go through that. But everybody in Quebec understands that Bourassa with Bill 22 in 1974 and then Bill 101 with the PQ in 77 has made it, that generally speaking, French is going to be the official language. You can still disagree with that. But for the leader of a party that aspires to govern the province to make that mistake, and then when he came back to try to rectify it, he started saying that he could repeat it in Spanish. He winds up talking, as he often does, about himself. It was a complete change of tracks that just threw everybody off. It made no sense whatsoever, and then he walked away from it. Well, he got nailed again. He had a very good day when he said that they were going to vote against the advanced renewal of the notwithstanding clause. He had a very strong position. He stood there foursquare, and Charles Milliard said, we're going to vote against this thing because there are parts of Bill 96 that hurt the economy of Quebec. Bravo! He had the guts to say it. But then he stumbled. The French expression is, il a trébuché sur les fleurs du tapis. Just the drawing of a flower on a carpet is enough for him to trip on. And he's not going to be able to become premier of the province of Quebec unless he figures out how to play the game properly.
Still have time to recover. Obviously, there's not an election until October.
Look, the election's 5 months away. Okay, it's not tragic. But what's happening now? He doesn't have a seat. We got 5 more weeks of National Assembly left. His way of getting profile, because his party is there, he has access to what they call the hot room, La Salle Bernard Lalonde, named after a former CTV cameraman. And that's the room where you do this type of press conference. Look, he's got tons of skills, Milliard. He's got lots of time to learn, but the people around him are basically determined to start giving him adult supervision because on his own, he's not doing well.
Last thing, we're still talking provincial politics. The situation for the Liberals, of course, provincially with the representative, the MNA in Chamonix, the big mess that has turned into from an ethics perspective. How much does this hurt the party? Well,
the other parties I think they've overplayed their hand. Sona Lecoyen Oliver, she was in desperate situation. She got caught using her riding office for partisan political purposes to help Pablo Rodriguez, as if the Pablo Rodriguez debacle they haven't been able to put a lid on it from 6 months ago when he finally quit. So it's continuing to drag on. Milliard has said he wants to make sure she never becomes a member of the party again. I think that might be overreach. It just seems like he's trying to shut the barn door once the horse is gone. It's over. But what the other parties are doing, Aaron, is they're saying, well, this is all about liberal corruption. They've always been a crooked party, and they just keep playing that theme. I think they're overplaying that hand. I don't think that the average Quebecer sees it that way. They know that some skullduggery took place around Rodriguez. But here's the key thing. Talk about leadership. Charles Milliard has to take a decision. Does he or does he not invite Marwah Rizqy back into caucus? She has been proven right. She said that she had fired this chief of staff because there was clear indications that there were fling-flang, things that were being done that were not right. And now we've got a clear decision from the ethics commissioner that says that's true. She was right. So I don't care what the personal issues are amongst the remaining MNAs, who for some reason seem to be very jealous of Marwah Rizqy, because she was certainly the most appreciated MNA on all sides by all parties. Brilliant, hardworking, super researched, always willing to stand up on complex issues. They couldn't stand her. And so they're using that as a way to keep her out. They just keep shooting themselves in the foot. Every moment that Marwah Rizqy is not back in that caucus hurts the Quebec Liberal Party. Is Charles Milliard mature enough to figure that out and to push back on his caucus? We'll see.
We'll leave it at that. Did you just say they hated her?
They really didn't like her. I don't know if hate is probably too strong a word, but that was the word that was often used when describing it to me from the inside.
Wow.
But let's just suffice it to say that they resented her. Let's roll that one back. Thanks for giving me that chance.
Fair enough. Tom, you have a good weekend. I will see you soon. Take good care.
Take good care.
Unmistakably Canadian.
It's the music that raised you.
The artists raising the bar.
Hi, this is Bryan Adams.
Hey, my name's Brett Emmons. I'm from the Glorious Sons.
Hi, I'm Nelly Furtado.
Made in Canada. The station that champions Canadian music.
Loud, proud, and all yours.
No passports required. Just press play.
Tap into Made in Canada now on iHeartRadio.ca
or the free iHeartRadio app.